Seatbelts are fastened. Lou Williams for the win. Bingo!
Oh my goodness.
By Landry, Ariza drop down. Kobe! Oh! Up high! Down hard! Kobe Bryant!
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
Kawhi aggressive to the rack.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to another post-game live for the 2024-25 season. And now we are in the postseason, baby. The best time of the year for this channel and for basketball fans. It's just nothing better than playoff basketball. It's when I really get to tap in and watch every single team and really stay, up to date with everybody. And as everybody knows, this has been a tough year for me. So for those wondering, Dime, are you going to be making your playoff previews where you get a fan from each team and start talking about the series? Unfortunately, I will not have the time for that before this year's first round. So for this week, you can expect me to be live after games, after the playing games, breaking them down at night. And then I'll probably do a preview for the Clippers series and the Lakers series, just given this, LA Sports Channel, LA Basketball Hub. And then maybe second round and on, we will do playoff previews with a fan or a content creator from each side. But we're going to be breaking down games every single night, so get used to it. Unfortunately, unlike most seasons, and that's what, by the way, I always hold myself to the standard. If you look at my last couple of seasons and you look at the playlists, trying to break down every single playoff game for every single team and have a log of it, essentially, for my own receipts as well. Because I look back at those. The regular season games, I don't really look back and go see what I said during regular season games. But during playoff games, these are games that decide players' careers, legacies. So it's always nice to go back and check. And by the way, for those that are tuning in on Twitter, I see 33 people on Twitter. I am going to be deleting the Twitter link in about 10 minutes. So I wanted to funnel everybody to YouTube for the playoffs. This is where I make my money. This is the platform that I'm building and I spend the most time on. So please come to YouTube. The link is on my Twitter feed and come support. Get me up to 13,000 subscribers by the end of this postseason. That'd be nice. So tonight we're going to only talk about the Warriors Grizzlies playing game because I had a club practice to coach, so I wasn't able to watch the Hawks Magic besides the fourth quarter, and the Magic had already been ahead by a good amount. So I'll probably watch that and then touch on it tomorrow after the Sacramento, Dallas, and the Miami, Chicago game. These games shouldn't even be happening, by the way. The plan, I've always thought since I was butthurt that the Clippers lost in 2022, that was a bad gimmick. And I just don't think it's necessary, although it did add a little bit of more drama towards the end of the season because teams are fighting to not be in it. But I don't know. I think just having the extra games is just money hungry. It increases the risk of injury. And what it does is it allows more teams to rest and load manage guys throughout the season because they only need to get a top 10 seed as opposed to top 8. So I don't know. I'm pretty anti the play-in. I think it causes for some good basketball, though, during those games. But, I just 1 through 8. We already have 16 teams out of 30 in the NBA make the playoffs. We don't need 20 teams being rewarded in some capacity. I'm not a fan of it. So, but I'm also a traditionalist that doesn't like change. So, but I'll accept good change. I don't think playing is that great, but to each his own. But anyway, we're going to be talking about Warriors and Grizzlies tonight. And then we're going to be talking about the Warriors-Rockets series. So let's get to it. Shout out to the people in the chat. Bones got busy. Bro, quit it, bro. You not going viral. What is that supposed to mean? Thank you for your kind words. So, yes. Oh, what I was going to say is this. Usually my knowledge of teams is better going into a playoffs, but because of everything that's happened to me this year, I've only been really able to watch the Clippers and then a bit of Lakers. I mean, you can see my Laker content has not been frequent this season, which is unfortunate, and I apologize. But the other teams, just to give you a reference point, the Clipper game against the Warriors the other day was the first game that I'd seen Jimmy Butler play for the Warriors. I have not watched a single game. And it's not because I don't want to. It's just because I just haven't had time. So I'm going to go on a little bit of a deep dive these next couple of days. I've already started it, just going on a deep dive about, the season and some of the things I've missed from other teams. But I was not looking forward to watching this game because I feel like I'm so out of the loop with Jimmy, his fit with the Warriors. The only thing I know is that they were Okay, I don't know what's going on, but for some reason, my notes app on my computer has not been loading my notes that I've been taking during games. So I'm gonna have to be looking at my phone. So apologies that I'm not making eye contact. But anyway, so the one thing I knew was that the Warriors were 23-7, I believe, with Jimmy Butler this season. Let's see. Yeah, 30 games, 23-7 with Jimmy Butler since the move. Pretty great. My thoughts, so I didn't actually make a video when they made the move. So I would say my thoughts when they made the move were, okay, you get Steph that second star that you've been asking for. But does he make you a championship team? No, not in my opinion. The Warriors already didn't have great shooting, which is, funny because the Warriors, with their reputation, has been because of their shooting. But they don't have a great shooting team anymore. And Jimmy Butler is not really a spacer. So my thought was, I think it'll make them better, but they're losing a point of attack defender in Andrew Wiggins, and Jimmy and Draymond on the floor together. That's going to be a little awkward, especially with guys like Kuminga. And you see Kuminga in the game against us and this game was not used at all. And I believe they're going to need his athleticism against Houston. But the thing is, there's just a lot of guys that don't have confident jump shots. And Steph Curry covers up a lot of their weaknesses with how much attention people have to pay to him off the ball. You essentially have to have two guys ready for him with all the screens he's coming off. And here's what I will give Jimmy Butler that I probably underestimated when the Warriors got him. His basketball IQ, and I shouldn't be the one that underestimated him because I was such a big Jimmy Butler guy. If you go back and look at what I was ranking him going into last season, I said he was fourth or fifth best player in the league because of how much of a playoff riser he was. And I was very disappointed in him last season just because I felt as though he wasn't aggressive at all. And in this game, you saw moments where he was, for the majority of the game, extremely aggressive and he was amazing. But then there were other moments where he was hurting the team by not shooting shots. So I'll just say that Jimmy Butler's IQ and his ability to cut off the ball and, just do the little things and be willing to do the little things and be unselfish. He's always been an unselfish star. That blends well with high IQ guys like Steph and Draymond. So I can see why it's been a good move, but I definitely gonna go back and watch some of their tape. But as far as tonight's game, so by the way, I'm cutting off the Twitter portion of this video at 10 minutes. So in 3 minutes, I'm cutting it off. So make your way to YouTube. The link is posted on my channel, or I'm sorry, on my Twitter feed. But I'm not gonna get my phone because these damn notes aren't loading on my computer. All right, so to start the game, they had Scottie Pippen Jr. on Steph Curry, and man, he was grabbing him, holding him all game long. And, they started giving him those calls in the second half. Jaren Jackson Jr. was on Draymond, John Morant on Moses Moody, and Desmond Bane on Pajimski. And Zach Edey was guarding Jimmy Butler. And what a roller coaster of a game it was for Zach Edey. I mean, he had some horrific moments where he brought the ball down low and got stripped, or looked loose with the ball, or just looked like a gangly tall dude that was just getting picked on in space and all these different things. However, as the game went on, he really was able to make an impact, whether it be on the offensive glass or drawing loose ball fouls, going for a rebound, or protecting the rim against the team that doesn't have that many good outside shooters. And for me, watching this game, it was crazy because the Grizzlies threw the first punch in the beginning of the game. We're up 8-0. And, Jaren Jackson made a couple of threes and Ja got to the basket. And, Ja had that little yo-yo dribble, that tween on Moses Moody, who started out guarding him and forced a Warrior timeout. But after that, it was literally all Warriors. And they ended up taking a 20-point lead. And a lot of it was because they were able to get stops and force turnovers. And when they were forcing turnovers, 7 in the first quarter, by the way, they were getting out and running. And a lot of it was Steph Curry. When he got the ball, he would look to kick it ahead. When he was off the ball, he'd be running super hard down the floor, looking to get a three. So the Warriors clearly, and that's always been their MO in this Steve Kerr, Draymond, Steph era. When they turn teams over, they get a rebound, they look to outlet, they look to push. They're at their best when they're pushing the pace off your misses and off your turnovers. And you could say the same for basically any team, but the Warriors make it an emphasis. Now, in this game, you had Moody on Ja. That's one thing I really still think is a weakness for the Warriors. Their point of attack defense isn't great. Moses Moody, and then you have GP2, who was pulled out of the game late in this one because he can't fucking shoot. So, I don't know. It's suspect to me. Gary Payton, Moody, Jimmy Butler, they're pretty good defensively, but, Buddy Hield, Steph, there's a lot of guys you can attack. Pods. I don't know. But anyway, it was a 20-2 run for the Warriors. Steph got it started, whether it be off ball or on the ball. And just like, it's gotten to that point where I'm watching Steph Curry, I'm watching Draymond, and I'm like, just thankful that I'm still getting to watch these guys play for the Warriors. You know what I'm saying? Play for the same team. They've made such an incredible impact on the league. And it's gone to that point where you just know that, like, they've already lost Clay. Time is ticking. But I'm just appreciative to watch them playing like big games like this. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, that's going to, by the way, bring the end to the Twitter portion of this video. So please, if you want to keep listening as I keep talking about this game and the Houston Rockets Warriors series, come to YouTube. The link is on my Twitter profile. So thank you very much. Now, as for those of us 32 people that are tapped in on the YouTube side, appreciate you all. So let's get into it. Now, Jimmy Butler was so aggressive. That's what stood out to me. It was playoff Jimmy, getting downhill whenever he could. The thing was, Zach Edey was guarding him, and I thought he at times still wasn't aggressive enough, like trying to get around him and just making a quick move. But for the most part, he still was trying to, like, anytime he got basically anybody but Edey, he would try to go in. This usage of pump fakes was fantastic, and that's one thing that sticks out when you watch the Warriors. Both Jimmy Butler and Steph, two of the best pump fakers in the NBA today. And Jimmy, it was just, he was doing a little bit of everything. And what stood out to me the most is, we've talked about it in all these years, when Steph goes to the bench, what the Warriors are going to do, how they're going to create offense, especially after Jordan Poole's been gone. Jimmy took that unit without Steph in that late first quarter, was it early second quarter, and he was basically, being a table setter, being the point forward. He was rebounding. He was getting to the paint and driving and kicking. He was getting an and one. He was knocking down the three that they were just giving him. He was absolutely everywhere. Gary Payton actually got off to a pretty good start. 7 points early on in the game. Hit a three. And then Post. I thought Quentin Post was absolutely fantastic. Knocking down threes, defending well around the basket, really giving them some life, some energy, doing a good job running in transition. I thought the Warriors in general just did a great job running the floor in transition in that stretch where they went on that 20-2 run. And it was Desmond Bane for so long in that game, in this game tonight. He did not touch the ball until to begin it. And then he got 2 straight buckets late in the first quarter where he just got to the paint easily. And they went, and Luke Kennard, former Clipper Luke Kennard, made a 3 to end the first quarter. That kind of gave the Grizzlies some momentum after what was a really good first quarter for the Warriors. I think that was a 7-0 run there. So they were up 31-18 Golden State, and Memphis made it 31-25. But Jimmy, rebounding. They were playing drop coverage on Jimmy when he was setting the screen. So they were inviting him to shoot. They were inviting him on that pick and pop. And, he didn't take it most of the time. But in that first quarter, when he did, he was knocking it down. 10 points in the first quarter. The only thing I thought that was preventing the Warriors from blowing it open was Pods and Moody weren't hitting. And one thing I have to say about Pods, when he plays with that first unit with Steph and Jimmy, it seems like they don't really want him to handle the ball. And I don't think Paz is just a spot-up shooter. I think you got to give him some more on-ball touches. So maybe he should come off the bench. The question is, who do you start? I honestly think you might have to go with Gary Payton and just hope that Moses Moody can shoot better than what he shot tonight. 1 for 4 from 3. I mean, he did shoot 4 for 7 from the field and still had some good defensive moments. But I don't know. Pods was 1 for 7 from the field and 1 for 5 from 3. And every single time he shot those catch and shoot threes, I was like, he feels cold. And I know how Pods is as a player. I saw him at Santa Clara and I've seen him when he plays well in the NBA. And I don't think that he just didn't have the ball enough, in my opinion. He's not a good enough spot up shooter, catch and shoot 3-point guy to be that kind of guy. I think you might maybe start Buddy Hield, but the thing is you're too weak defensively in that case because you're playing Draymond at the 5, which makes you small. And Jonathan Kuminga with Jimmy and Draymond, it's a little clunky. So maybe you go with, I think, Gary Payton, but then the spacing, I mean, that's the thing. It's a tough decision. So maybe you got to go with Pods. That's clearly the dilemma. So hold on. I don't know why it said that the Twitter side of here is still on, and it's pissing me off because I want people to come to the YouTube side. Apologies to the audio, but no, it says 42 people are on the YouTube side. So I appreciate everybody on this YouTube. Warriors fans, Rockets fans, everybody, let me know what your pick is for this series. Very curious to hear your picks. But this game was really bad, poorly officiated in the fourth quarter. I see the comments. Oh, let's see what else we got. That was all my notes in the first quarter. Jaren Jackson got Chuck happy, though, after those first couple of threes. And I'll say this about Jaren Jackson, and he's the biggest disappointment of the game individually for the Grizzlies tonight, for the Teddy Bears. Like, he's a guy who, I always say this when I talk about him, when he first came into the league, I was pretty impressed with his post game, his ability to hit jump hooks with both hands. And then he starts getting the 3 ball. And then the classic thing happens to him, the same thing that I say about Karl Anthony Towns, where he started getting good at that 3 ball and kind of falling in love with it. And then he forgot that he was a good player around the basket, and he played the perimeter game and tries to play like a guard and faces up and makes the game harder for himself. And tonight, I mean, it was kind of that same story. And against the team that doesn't have size, it's just crazy you don't get the ball in the post. However, when Edey's down there, it feels like a lot. And mind you, since Jimmy Butler was acquired, this Golden State team is number 1 in defensive rating in the entire league. Clippers are 6th. In terms of offensive rating since they have had him, they are 8th. So top 10 in both categories. And look, it stood out to me that maybe I big-brained the Jimmy Butler move too much, and they didn't have, the point of attack loss of Wiggins wasn't a big deal. And, Jimmy Butler is a big needle mover. Look, he moves the needle, but honestly, as this game went on, I started feeling more vindicated. He makes them better. He absolutely does. But they played some teams in the stretch that they were really good in this regular season. As the game, I'll just keep talking. I'm just going to go off my notes, but I'll get to it. They started looking tired, and Jimmy Butler and Steph, they still don't really have a very good third option offensively. Their spacing, Jimmy Butler does not help the spacing. I was right about that. Those spacing concerns, it's a real thing when he's not looking at the basket, but I'll keep talking about it later. Anyway, second quarter was more Jimmy, more post. I mean, I was just in awe of seeing Jimmy, but it's not anything new. This guy, I mean, I've basically covered his entire whole amazing run here on my channels. Just since I've started, we've seen the best of Jimmy Butler. The guy finds a way to use all his fundamental skills and his will to get to the paint and make plays and consistently get to the free throw line in playoff games. And it was unfortunate last year when he was dealing with some injuries. He had the death of his father, and he wasn't really aggressive in the games that he did play for the Heat, and they got another pedestrian 8th seed finish, and they were in the play-in again. But then he got injured in a game in which he looked like he was playoff Jimmy and was going to take over. So this was his first postseason game, with the Warriors, and first postseason game since that injury where he unnecessarily pump faked, by the way, on that breakaway. And he was amazing. I mean, getting to the paint at will. Vince Williams played a couple of minutes for the Grizzlies. He looked so rattled. He couldn't even dribble the ball. It looked like one of those kids that's just playing at a level that's too high for him, like he's not ready to play yet. That's what it was. I use that because I just see that a lot in youth basketball. But 3 minutes, 0 points, 2 turnovers, 1 rebound, 1 assist, didn't get a shot off. It was -6 and didn't get put back in after that. So the Grizzlies went 8 deep. And I have to say, they were in a predicament tonight because they didn't have Brandon Clark, who's out. They didn't have Jalen Wells. So you have Scottie Pippen starting when he's really supposed to be your backup point guard. And at times it felt like he had the ball too much in lineups with Desmond Bane and or John Morant in. But you normally have Jalen Wells, who's a very solid defender. You have Scottie Pippen Jr. coming off the bench, and then you have a relief for Edey in this form of Brandon Clark, who unfortunately missed that Lakers series in 2023 and was injured a lot of last year, if I'm not mistaken, and then now is injured again. So you don't really have a backup for Edey, who people were like, why is he playing so much? The Grizzlies, the coaching staff is making a huge mistake playing Edey so much in this playoff game. It's high stakes. He's a rookie. And look, you saw the rookie mistakes. The game just looked too fast for him for so much of it. I mean, just not processing things quickly enough, committing bad fouls, losing the ball, bringing it down low. There was a lot of stuff in there. But as the game went on, as I said, his presence was really felt. Walling off the paint late in the game, getting a lot of offensive rebounds, just being a presence. And it really, to me, says more about Jaren Jackson Jr. not being reliable at the 5. And honestly, it didn't look too bad in that stretch in the second half where they were kind of inching back into the game. But it says a lot to me because Jaren Jackson Jr. is such a poor rebounder that they don't want to go with him at the 5. They don't want to match that small ball of the Warriors. They wanted to have Edey in there to give him that size advantage, ideally with Draymond being the 5. They don't play. There's no Trace Jackson Davis. I don't know if he's – see, I'm so out of the loop that I don't even know if he's injured. No, it was DNP coach's decision. So Quentin Post is their backup big, and he played 22 minutes. But I don't know. It was a lot of turnovers. For me, Memphis lost because they turned the ball over, and Jaren Jackson Jr. was awful. But that was a really good stretch in that second quarter and that late first without Steph. I thought Desmond Bane did a very good job in that first half getting to the paint and knocking down some threes. Steph came right back in, got back going again, 3-ball assist. And then the Grizzlies went on a little 9-0 run led by John Morant, who had an insane Tracy McGrady-esque play where he threw the ball off the glass with his left hand, caught it, and then finished with a layup on the other side. I mean, unbelievable play. You had moments in this game where you're just like remembering how great John Morant is. Unfortunately, we didn't have him last season in the NBA because of the injuries and the whole gun stuff, but he was just putting it on right there. And you had a little bit of Zach Edey finishing on a lob. You had some good stuff from Santi Aldama making plays, making some tough shots. And the Grizzlies were leaving Gary Payton open, and he was missing open threes. He was even missing layups. But they responded. I think it was a 16-4 run by the Warriors with Guy Santos' hustle. He was really reminded me of Anderson Varejao, not just because he's from Brazil and has that hair, but his hustle reminded me of Anderson Varejao. 6 minutes for him, 3 points, 3 rebounds. All 3 were offensive rebounds. Had 1 turnover on 1 for 3 shooting, 0 for 1 from 3, and made his only free throw. But Jimmy, just felt like he was trying to get downhill every single time. And I thought Draymond Green's defense around the basket was very good. And, what's funny about watching these two teams is neither of them are very pick and roll heavy. In the first half, we saw a lot of just the Grizzlies passing and trying to drive and kick and relocate. You see the Warriors playing their motion offense. It was, Draymond getting the ball at the top of the key. They're running stuff up a bunch of screens, give and goes, back cuts, flare screens, split action. The split action with, Draymond catching the ball and Jimmy Butler setting a back screen for Steph. That was very interesting to see them linking up like that. And it's basketball that I enjoy watching. But second quarter, let's see. It was 36-30 in favor of the Warriors. They were up 67-55 at the half. Felt like they were in control, but the Grizzlies did a good job of just staying in it. And a lot of that was Desmond Bane knocking down the three ball. And then, of course, John Morant having that nice stretch in that second quarter. But third quarter, Zach Edey still had moments where he was struggling, missing dunks, struggling with double teams. And Butler, I mean, he just had moments where he was having these give and goes with Draymond and Steph. And it's just, it looked like he was fitting in like a glove, honestly. The only thing is the spacing. But when you have that much movement and the passing of Jimmy and Draymond, I mean, it's hard. But here's the thing. It looks good. It's hard to guard, but it looks good against a team like Memphis. You're not going to be able to get away with this kind of stuff against better defensive teams because they give Jimmy and Draymond a lot of space, and they're not always making them pay. Now, in the second half, the Warriors started blitzing Desmond Bane on ball screens. Somehow he still was able through offensive rebounds and kickouts or transition to still get some threes that he made, Desmond Bane. But they were blitzing him on those ball screens, making sure that he didn't just pull up for threes. And I think that decision worked out pretty well for the Warriors. In terms of when Jaren Jackson Jr. was a screener, we saw moments like this when Edey got into foul trouble and Jaren Jackson had those minutes playing the 5. Draymond was playing drop. There was one time where John Morant had a nice lob to Jaren Jackson Jr. I'm honestly surprised that they didn't try playing with Jaren Jackson at the 5 more in this game. I mean, it looked like they just wanted to get Edey in any chance they got. Let me take a look at how many minutes Edey ended up playing. 33. So I don't know. I'd have to look back at, what their plus minus was with Edey on the bench. If somebody can find that for me, that would be nice. But Jaren Jackson Jr. had a layup that cut it to 4. And then Jimmy Butler instantly responded with free throws and then a steal on Jaren Jackson Jr. when he turned and came from the blind side. Those kinds of plays, when you're against the momentum and you get to the line to calm things down, albeit he was not making his free throws. That was something that was, I was saying, if the Warriors lost the game, Jimmy Butler, as well as he played, the free throws, I mean, he was giving the Grizzlies an opportunity to stay in the game with those. But huge plays, just to give the Warriors their momentum back. And there were minutes that would go by where the Warriors role players, the Moody's, the Pods, these guys couldn't hit. And Draymond's not looking at the basket. So it's really putting a lot of the onus on Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry, who, as good of passers as they are, there's just no natural true table setting point guard there, anything like that. And, back in the day, they had Draymond that when they won the championship in 2015, they had a different Draymond that was a different offensive threat. I thank you, super dope hip hop. Edey plus 6 on versus minus 11 off. So there you go. So the minutes with Jaren Jackson Jr., that's why they didn't do it. I mean, it didn't look good when they had Jaren Jackson Jr. at the 5. So, and part of that was because he couldn't hit a damn shot, and he shoots so many threes. I mean, let me see what he finished with. Jaren Jackson Jr., 18 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 3 turnovers. That doesn't sound too bad. He was 6 for 15 from the field, 4 for 9 from 3, and there's no way against the team with the lack of size the Warriors have. You're 4 for 9. 9 of your 15 shots are threes. I mean, that's just ridiculous in my opinion. So for a guy that's had such a great season, it's been a weird season for Memphis, and I didn't expect him to win this game when you fire your coach with 9 games left. I mean, that was absolutely egregious. But, this is a guy who's averaging 22 points a game, which is the second most points he's averaged in a season after last year, which was a joke season for them where everybody was hurt. His efficiency is up from last year. His 3-point percentage is the second best it's been in his career, and it's up from last year. He's averaging more rebounds than last year. I mean, he's been a very good player. He's been their best player all season long. Am I wrong? And for him to come out and play like that, I mean, I hope he plays well against Sacramento or Dallas because it was disappointing. Desmond Bane brought it. He had 30 points. John Morant, 22 points. But he got hurt. That kind of stalled his momentum. Ja got an and one. Landed on the foot of, I think it was Buddy Hield. And that was a scary moment. That was a really scary moment because he was starting to get going and it looked like Memphis was just inching back into the game. But eventually he ended up coming back in. But we'll see what the report is on that tomorrow. It was one of those classic landing space kind of things, but it wasn't a reckless closeout or anything like that. But the Warriors, for 2 straight quarters, and this was part of their success, got the Grizzlies in foul trouble. And as far as the way this game was officiated, ticky-tack city. Reminded me of the 2021 playoffs and, the period between, I would say, 2017 to 2021 was just like ticky-tack central, the NBA. But 2016, 2015, 2014, it wasn't like necessarily, super physical or different. But before that, yeah, quite a big difference. Jimmy, at this point, mid third quarter, I was just thinking Jimmy is just so good. He was really impressing me, honestly, with just how relentless he was getting to the basket and getting to the line. And Steph was just getting held by Pippen Jr. At one point, Pippen Jr. just face guarding him, trying to take him out of the equation, make somebody else beat him. And that's why Jimmy Butler is so great, because having another guy like that, you needed to do it just to give Steph a better chance. It takes so much pressure off of him. There just wasn't enough. With all due respect to Andrew Wiggins, there just wasn't enough. And yes, you could throw Kuminga back in there, but it's a play-in team, which this is as well, but they just made the playoffs, or if they're officially a playoff team. That one, I don't know. It might feel like the same fate as last year. Remember, they did lose Klay Thompson. But anyway, third quarter, the Grizzlies outscored the Warriors 36-27. So, there were some moments where they didn't end possessions with rebounds, the Golden State Warriors, and point of attack, they don't have that much. You know what I'm saying? They don't have that much. It's going to be a really interesting series with Houston. Stay tuned. I'm going to be talking about that. But I see 54 people on the live on YouTube. It's beautiful, when it's a non-Clippers related video and you got people tuning in just for the basketball analysis. This is awesome. This is when we start talking about, other teams and just looking at the league as a whole and figuring out what the story of this NBA season is going to be. And it starts right here in this play-in these days. And this was a really fun game. The East Coast, again, like my whole life has been. The East Coast is a snooze fest. The West Coast is cinema. So that's how that goes. But again, fourth quarter, a lot of Zach Edey looking good and bad. You had his moments where he's looking like a gangly, tall guy that just hasn't grown into his body, playing against a lot of athletic, fast guys that are good. And then you had moments where he was finding a way to draw loose ball fouls on the offensive glass, protecting the rim, making guys have second guessing shots when they were getting in the paint. And you started to see a concerted effort to get Steph Curry the ball more as from the Warriors side in that fourth quarter, starting to give him more pick and roll reps, having him target who he wanted, which a lot of times ended up being Ja Morant, and the Grizzlies were very resistant to throw Ja Morant onto Steph Curry. They were always showing and recovering, which gave Moses Moody and pods some open threes, and they did not really convert. So that was a thing. And when Ja got back into the games, that was good to see. But I'm really, what's the word? Interested to see what's going to happen with, hopefully he's fine. I want to see Ja Morant play. I think the Grizzlies do deserve to. They were the third seed for so much of the season. I think they deserve to make the playoffs, but I would love to see it look, into their collapse. It's clear to me that Ja Morant wants to play more pick and roll style of basketball where he gets to be on the ball as opposed to that offense that, this coach, LaSallo or whatever, is implementing where it's pass and move. Ja Morant's not a super willing off-ball guy, and it doesn't maximize his abilities, especially doesn't also maximize Edey's ability right now. So, it's a change in philosophy, and they were the third seed, though, when they were, I don't know. It seems like the Grizzlies always wanted to move towards him. So it's just firing Jenkins with 9 games left in the season is just weird. But yeah, the thing about the Warriors was GP2 is just no good offensively. When guys are guarding him and Steph's targeting his man in the pick and roll per se, like Luke Kennard, like these guys aren't really making plays in the short roll. So it's just, the target game for Steph, it doesn't get super easy. And then Desmond Bane, the way he was hitting shots, and the Warriors, again, they were not always finishing possessions with rebounds. They allowed Desmond Bane and these guys to make shots. Like there was one time where Draymond Green volleyball smacked the ball and it went out to a Grizzly player at half court and ended up being a Desmond Bane swish 3. And then late in the game, Steph Curry did what Steph Curry does. And I was looking for a sec, like, man, is Steph Curry going to get gassed like we've seen him get gassed the last couple of years after the 2022 ring? Because he's looking a little tired. Shots are short. He had some bad misses. Memphis is younger. Are they going to steal this? And then he has that incredible possession. It was an incredible team possession where he had that little give and go with Draymond and relocated to the left corner for three, makes the three, and then that double pump fake. It was amazing on Scottie Pippen Jr. And this guy, it's just a privilege to watch him play. The way he moves off the ball, second to none, maybe the greatest that the game has ever seen in that regard. I mean, it's a privilege. It's a privilege. And the synergy that Draymond and him have, it's amazing. And Draymond, for what it's worth, if he's going to play that kind of defense, he can talk on his podcast all he wants, but offensively, and I want to say this about Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler was getting himself into some major trouble when he was getting in the lane and just jump passing, panicking, just throwing it away. And he cannot get away with that against Houston. You have to take the pull-up 12-footer or 15-footer. That's not a hard shot for you. At least I don't think it is. We've seen him make that throughout the course of his career. So you're not going to take that shot. You're going to jump pass and turn around and hope for the best. That's not going to work. You don't want to leave your feet. It's going to lead to turnovers, and it's going to hurt the team. So there are spacing concerns. And credit to the Grizzlies, they didn't go away. There was some really stupid fouls at the end of the game. I thought Memphis actually got the worst whistle until the end of the game. There was some bad calls. Looney's foul, Draymond's foul that fouled him out of the game. But, Grizzlies, after all that, still having a chance to tie the game on a 3. And they got a 5-second violation. Every single team seems to want to run that play where they run that, they set those screens on the backside, on the weak side of the floor, and have them flare out and throw that pass over the top. And I don't know, it's just a hard pass to make. That cross court after a couple of screens, getting shooters going that way. Because what happens is you end up thinking that someone's coming off some screens going towards the ball and then someone pops out the other way. But I don't know. It wasn't a great look for the new coach. First game, big situation. You got to get the ball in bounds, though. That's no excuse. You got to get the ball in bounds. I saw some people talking about it's a quick 5 count. I don't know. You got to get the ball in bounds. So that was pretty embarrassing. Steph ends up making big free throws. And the Warriors move on and will play the Houston Rockets. So it was a really fun game. If you're a Grizzlies fan, I would be most disappointed at Jaren Jackson Jr. As far as Edey's concerned, look, he had 14 and 17 and got valuable experience. 14 and 17 and got valuable experience. They didn't have many other options. The Grizzlies, and they turned the ball over too much as a team. They shot 49% from the field, 46 from 3. That's part of the reason why they stayed in the game, was that 46% from 3, and a lot of that was Desmond Bane, who hit 5 of those 12. And then they also shot well from the foul line, 20 for 23. Golden State shot 46% from the field, just 35% from 3. So again, they shot 17 more threes and only made 3 more than Memphis. So they did not shoot well from 3. They ended up shooting 11 more free throws than the Grizz and were 28 for 34, which was 82%. So the Grizzlies shot better in every single statistical category, shooting the ball, but they turned the ball over 19 times, and the Warriors turned the ball over just 10 times. Actually, it was 20 times for Memphis. So the Warriors, taking care of the ball, it's been one of the biggest things for the Warriors throughout the years. Their weakness has been turning the ball over. They took care of it, and that's part of the reason why they won this one. So when you look at the lines, the 8-man rotation for real for the Grizzlies, because Vince Williams, 3 minutes is nothing. John Conchar played 13 minutes. Thought he was pretty solid in his role, 6 points, 3 rebounds, but I was mostly watching this game from a Warriors perspective because, the pressure's on them. He was 3 for 3. Luke Kennard, our good old friend Nuke, 3 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 turnover on 1 for 2 shooting, and both those shots were threes. The only shot he made was that buzzer beater at the end of the first. I have to say with Luke, he gets in the lane sometimes and he has floaters. He doesn't take them. He just is not nearly aggressive enough. And that's been the story of his career since the first year we had him. So the fact that I'm still saying that 4 years later, that's not great. Santi Aldama, he played 27 minutes, and honestly, I don't know if he should have played more or not. He probably should have. 14 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 turnover on 5 for 8 shooting, 1 for 2 from 3, and 3 for 3 from the foul line. I mean, how much better is Jaren Jackson Jr. than Aldama sometimes? I don't know. Although I don't lock in on Aldama defensively, whereas Jaren Jackson Jr. is a former defensive player of the year. But that was the bench. They got 23 points off of it. The Warriors got 30 points off of it. So that ended up being a little bit of a difference in the game. Now, the starters for the Grizzlies. Zach Edey had 14 points, 17 rebounds, 7 of those being offensive rebounds, 2 assists, and 4 turnovers. On 4 for 11 shooting and 6 for 8 from the free throw line. There was a lot of bad. There was a lot of good. But overall, 14 and 17, and you were +6 when you're on the court. I think it was a good game for him overall, honestly. Like, he's part of the reason they lost, yes. But you're throwing him in a tough situation in this game, playing him that many minutes. It's not a good matchup for him. Even Charles Barkley said he should only be playing when Looney's out there. But it's on Jaren Jackson Jr. They don't trust him. Scottie Pippen Jr., I think he did as good of a job as you'd expect. 9 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, just 1 turnover, did foul out of the game, was 3 for 8 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the foul line. I thought he was pretty good, all things considered. And then the big 3 of the Grizz. Jaren Jackson Jr., already talked about his stat line. He just wasn't good enough, in my opinion. 6 for 15, wasn't aggressive in the right ways. Just a lot of threes. And, 3 turnovers. Nah. John Morant, 22 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 5 turnovers on 9 for 18 shooting, 1 for 3 from deep, and 3 for 3 from the foul line in 35 minutes. I honestly think going to need more job, more aggression from him. It's more of that alpha mentality, just more spamming jaw, honestly. I know they kind of need to, in my opinion. Desmond Bane, he was the best player for Memphis for me. 30 points, 6 boards, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block, 2 turnovers on 11 for 21 shooting, 5 for 8 from 3, and 3 for 3 from the foul line. The guy was lights out. I thought he was great. For the Warriors, they went 10 deep. Guy Santos played 6 minutes, and I already talked about his stat line. I thought he was actually pretty good. Gave him some good energy. Kevon Looney played 10 minutes, had a putback for his only bucket, 2 points, 1 rebound, 1 assist, 1 turnover, and 1 for 2 from the field. I have to say, I feel like Kevon Looney's really fallen off since that series against Sacramento in 2023. Just doesn't feel like he does that same impact on the glass defensively. And he used to be able to switch out on the perimeter. He's a non-spacer. I think he's going to hurt them in this Grizzlies series. The Rocket series. Buddy Hield played 12 minutes, and you needed some three-point shooting from him, and he didn't give you that. And defensively, he's bad. 2 points, 1 assist, 1 steal, no turnovers, 1 for 4 from the field, 0 for 3 from 3 in 12 minutes. So nothing really from him. Gary Payton Jr., I thought he was really solid, but he just has limitations. 12 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block, no turnovers on 5 for 10 shooting and 2 for 6 from 3. In 20 minutes, if you look at that stat line, you're getting double-figure points from GP2, 50% shooting, make 2 threes. Honestly, you'll take that from him. You probably will take that from him. And then you have Quentin Post, who I thought was spectacular. 11 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 2 turnovers on 4 for 5 shooting, 3 for 4 from 3. He was a +12. The guy was good. He was really good. I think they should play him more going forward. Then the starters. Pajimski, 28 minutes, 3 points, 4 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals, 1 turnover. I'll give pause that he always plays hard. He was 1 for 7 from the field, 1 for 5 from 3. Just didn't shoot well, and I don't love that role for him. It's a lot of on ball. It's a lot of off ball and catch and shoot, and he's not that kind of guy. Moses Moody, 9 points, 3 boards, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block, 1 turnover on 4 for 7 shooting and 1 for 4 from 3. He was decent. but he's got to make some shots. And then the big three, Draymond Green, 4 points, 6 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 steals and a block, 1 turnover. He did foul out, but he was everywhere. He also gets just crazy leeway when it comes to the technical foul stuff. He was 1 for 5 from the field and 0 for 3 from deep, made both his free throws in 31 minutes. The thing about Draymond is he's got to look at the rim. He's got to be a threat. If he's not, they're not going to beat the Rockets. My player of the game is Jimmy Butler. 38 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, just 2 turnovers on 60% shooting, 12 for 20, 2 for 4 from 3. The only criticism I have is his free throws and the jump passing. 12 for 18 from the foul line, but 18 free throw attempts, 40 minutes. I mean, I thought the guy was awesome. And then Steph Curry, who closed the deal, 37 points. So 75 points between the two of them. 8 rebounds for Steph. 8 rebounds. 4 assists, 1 steal, just 1 turnover for that Steph. That's a huge stat, just 1 turnover. Didn't shoot great, 9 for 22 from the field, just 3 for 9 from 2, but he was 6 for 13 from 3, including those 2 big ones, and was a perfect 13 for 13 from the line. The guy is spectacular. Great win for the Warriors. Now, talking about the series against the Houston Rockets. By the way, super chats are turned on. If you want to drop $1 or a dime, any donations appreciated. So with Houston, is a couple of thoughts. I haven't watched. Let me look. When's the last Houston Rockets game I watched that doesn't count the Clipper game against them the other day that I was at? Let's see. The last Houston Rockets game that I watched was against the Lakers on January 5th. So it's been an absolute minute since I've watched them. They've gone 29-16 since. So that's pretty damn good. They're an amazing defensive team. They finished, let's see, 4th in defensive rating, 13th in offensive rating. They improved their win total by 11 games. They're 4 games better than the Golden State Warriors, who finished 48-34. So 4 games is not crazy. And it's the Jimmy Butler Warriors. So, like, you don't really know, right? Like, they played them recently, and they won 106-96. That might be a game I have to check out. Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green, Alpi, Dylan Brooks, and Amen Thompson, and Jabari Smith all played in that game. Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry, Pajimski, Draymond, Moody. Wow. Okay, so this is a legit game. Damn, Steph was 1 for 10. All right. I mean, look, the playoffs are a different animal. I'm not going to totally take the regular season and just completely run with it. You know, those regular season matchups, they don't mean too much to me. That, you know, this Rockets team also lost at home to the Warriors when they got Jimmy Butler. But it looks like they did not have Fred VanVleet in that game. They started Aaron Holiday, who had 25 points, though. But it's definitely different not having Fred VanVleet. And they also didn't have Jabari Smith in this game. So that matters. So here's what I'm thinking. It's 2 things in my thoughts in my head. One is the experience, the star power. The Warriors have the 2 best players in this series with Jimmy and Steph. And usually when your team has the 2 best players in the series, you don't bet against them. But the Rockets might have 3, 4, 5. And then after Draymond, who I'd say maybe, like, I really think that Jalen Green, Alperen Şengün, Fred VanVleet, and Amen Thompson could outplay Draymond Green in this series. I really do. And the thing is, this Rockets team, they also have Steven Adams. I mean, how many games? Steven Adams has played 58 games, but he just played 17 minutes against Denver the other day. So they have a lot of size. I feel like they're going to kill them on the offensive glass. Amen Thompson's the best, and Dylan Brooks are the perfect guys to throw at Steph. And you throw Jabari Smith in there. And Fred VanVleet. These are the perfect guys to throw at Steph. Tari Eason. It's a really athletic team. I think the Warriors lack athleticism. I think they might get rocked in certain games in this series. If the games are close, advantage Golden State. If the games are blowouts, and Houston's got them. Because you don't want to get into a close game with Jimmy and Steph with the experience they have. The Rockets, outside of Fred VanVleet and Dylan Brooks, they're very inexperienced. Jeff Green, depending on how many minutes he gets. But Jabari Smith, Alperen Şengün, Jalen Green, Amen Thompson, Tari Eason. These guys are brand new to this. And by the way, they're brand new to this. I think the key in this series is going to be Fred VanVleet. How efficient can he be? Same with Jalen Green. Is he going to hijack the offense? The half-court offense for me with Houston has to run through Şengün. They got to play through him, try to see if they can get Draymond in foul trouble, try to see how the Warriors play the pick and rolls with Şengün as the screener, because they got to really, in my opinion, pound it through him. Will the Warriors be able to contain Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green? I think they should be okay, but who knows? The Rockets are just more equipped to guard them, and they're so much more athletic. I think they're going to really kill them on the boards with Adams, with Amen Thompson. They have athletes. My head is saying the experience is going to win out, and the Warriors are going to find a way to get through this. But then part of me, the logic is saying the Rockets are just a better basketball team. They've been a better basketball team all year. I really do believe they have the two best players in the series, Golden State. But Şengün is the third best player. And then for me, it would go Jalen Green fourth. And then Amen Thompson. Is Amen Thompson already better than Draymond? I think he probably is better than Draymond already. Like this version of Draymond. But playoff basketball is different. But I think he is. What do you guys think, comments? Is Draymond Green better or Amen Thompson right now? This season. I would say probably Amen Thompson. And then you got Fred VanVleet. I'd still take Draymond over Fred VanVleet, honestly. But then Fred VanVleet, who's next, though, after Draymond? Who's the next best player? Pajimski? Jonathan Kuminga, who's not even getting minutes? Yeah, it's generational. Hater says Amen is way better. Wheezy saying Amen Thompson is arguably Defensive Player of the Year. You got Dylan Brooks. How much would Dylan Brooks help this Warriors team right now? So much. California Kid says Amen way better. So there you go. I'm going to go with Rockets in 7, conquering the demons of the Harden D'Antoni era. I don't know, though. Honestly, I feel like that'd be a feel-good story, but I want the Lakers to have more competition in the second round. I don't think the Lakers will lose to Houston. So I don't know. It's going to be 7 games. I'm going 7 games. I just don't know who I'm picking in that 7. I got to pick, though. I'm going to go with the Rockets wearing them down. I think the Rockets are going to win in 7. I'm going Rockets in 7. It'll be fun. I could be wrong. Steph and Jimmy. This is going to be a true test of playoff basketball versus regular season basketball. Experience versus no experience. Are they a good enough basketball team that the experience won't be a thing? But the star power, the 2 stars, that'll be interesting. But that's my official pick. And I know that's not as in-depth analysis as some might want. I'm sorry. I haven't watched enough Warriors and Rockets games to really get into the scheme of things. But I think Amen Thompson, Fred VanVleet, these guys are going to be great to guard. And they're going to really make the likes of Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green and these guys shoot the ball. And it's going to expose the Warriors in many ways in the half court. I also just think that they rely on Jimmy and Steph a lot. I think the Rockets are going to be more athletic. They have more options. I think Rockets in 7. But we'll see. It's Fred VanVleet and Jalen Green series to win and lose. So that's what I'm going with. Rockets in 7. It's going to be super fun. I can't wait for the whole world to see the Houston Rockets, and including me. I'm speaking of me because I haven't gotten to really watch their games like that on the big stage. Get to see these young players that might be the future of our league with Şengün and Amen Thompson and Jalen Green. So it'll be really cool. And especially with the whole storyline with Golden State being the, Steph Curry and Draymond being the thorn in the Houston Rockets side of the James Harden era. And now that same city, that same fan base in Houston gets this new era. And how about a game 1 at the Toyota Center with Jalen Green and Şengün as the faces of the team. Like, that's going to be an experience for Rockets fans, a moment in Rockets history, the first game, and it's against those same Warriors, although it's not the same Warriors. No KD, no Clay, no Iguodala, but you still got Kerr, Curry, and Draymond. I think that's going to be the second most fun series after Clippers Nuggets. And if you're wondering, what do I think about that? Well, you got to keep tuning in to Locked On Clippers. And of course, I'm going to be doing a preview on this channel. And for the Laker fans, you better believe I'm going to be doing a preview of that series. Any other series? Maybe. Tomorrow I'll do whatever series is confirmed. But we'll see. I'll have a preview on every series. I'll say something about every series. Maybe. But definitely LA series. That'll have an episode in itself. But there you go. Warriors, Rockets. Let me know your prediction in the comments below. It would be nice to get some more Rockets fans to follow me or subscribe to me if you're interested, to subscribe to a guy that loves the game and is going to do some work on your history later down the line. But I know I got a lot of Warriors fans that subscribe to me. So Warriors fans, Dub Nation, let me know what you're thinking. Congrats. It's going to be great to see Steph Curry in the playoffs and, of course, Jimmy Butler in the playoffs. God, Warriors in 7? I just feel like it's the Sacramento vibes all over again, where that team is really good, but then Steph goes off in a game 7. Nah, I'm going with the Rockets. I'm going to stick with my pick. Rockets in 7 games. The age. Oh, I thought I was on Locked On Clippers right now. All right, that'll be it for tonight. Thank you so much. Tomorrow, talking the games tomorrow. Peace.